everyone, to today's workshop on our webinar on the CPRA Youth Employment Experience. My name is Erin Love. I am the National Program Manager at the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association. So on the agenda for today is an overview of the program, how to apply, important dates to keep in mind, and then we'll take all of your questions in the chat at the end. So if you have something that you'd like to ask, please pop it in and we'll review all the comments as we go along. So program overview. The CPRA Youth Employment Experience Program is funded through the Government of Canada's Youth Employment Skills Strategy funding. CPRA began this program in 2020, and we are now in its third and final year. The goal of the program, of course, is to build skills in youth in parks and recreation all across Canada. And program details can be found here on our website. So we just touched upon the fact that it's a 3-year program. CPRA is committed to engaging over 300 youth in this program. At the moment, we're actually just shy of that number. And so we will anticipate exceeding that. Will be about 400 youth by the time the program is done at the end of this year. This program offers wage subsidies to municipalities and not-for-profit organizations of up to 100% and up to $10,000 per youth. On top of that $10,000 that's offered to support the youth salary, we also offer $4,000 to the organization to support the mentorship component of this program. So this program is an investment in both the youth in terms of their employment and also their skills building through mentorship opportunities. If required, and based, of course, upon who you hire, there are additional supports available should a youth require particular accommodations or other supports in order to make sure that their work experience is successful and positive. Some of those supports can be adaptive equipment. They could be child support for childcare for the person to go to and from work. They could be transportation if required, or other tools or trainings to help make sure that they are well equipped to fulfill the role. And all funding is paid directly to the employer after the work term. So once the youth completes the work term, the regional managers will be in touch with your organization to send you a final activity report and claim form. And at that time, we will process the wage subsidy payments. The goals of the program, of course, employment, providing employment opportunities to hundreds of youth across Canada. Mentorship, so every youth involved in the program will be connected through a mentor, and we leave that connection to the successful applicant organization. So you get to decide, or perhaps you and the youth together get to decide what that mentorship looks like. We do offer a mentorship training, sort of mentorship 101 in partnership with Mentor Canada. And that training usually comes in the springtime, I would say sometime around May. If you're curious, though, we do have it up on our YouTube site for you to take a look at what some of that mentorship component looks like from previous years. Skills. So we want to make sure that the youth who are engaged in this program are learning all the way through. They might be learning hard skills. They might be learning soft skills. They might be learning technical skills or certifications throughout their work placement. Of course, we want to focus on recruitment of youth. And so when we talk about eligibility criteria, we'll talk about who exactly these youth are. But most importantly, they must be between the ages of 15 and 30 at the time of hiring. And they must be eligible to work in Canada as either a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or refugee. And these youth in particular, we focus on reaching youth who would otherwise face barriers to employment in Canada. So maybe these youth are from rural communities, maybe they are racialized, perhaps they they don't speak English or French as their first language. There's a whole host of barriers, of course, that folks face to employment. And we want to make sure that we're lifting up the youth who need this program. And again, support. So support to your communities, especially in the effort reaching post-COVID, making sure that we're providing funding so that you have an opportunity to hire youth in your community to do this work. So we talked a little bit about eligibility. So in terms of applicants, municipalities, cities and towns, villages, regional districts, Indigenous communities, Indigenous governments, and not-for-profit organizations who deliver recreational programming on behalf of the local government. So for the most part, this program is tailored to municipalities, but if you are part of a not-for-profit organization delivering parks and recreation programming, please get in touch with us. We'll just ask for a letter of support from your municipality or jurisdiction. In terms of the youth themselves, so who are these folks? So as mentioned, they are between the ages of 15 and 30 at the start of the work term. So we've had questions about, oh, the youth is turning 15 2 weeks into the job. Unfortunately, you're certainly welcome to hire them, but we can only pay for the work term post 15th birthday. And they must be no older than 30 years of age at the start of the work term. Again, Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or protected person. They must be legally entitled to work in Canada, legally entitled also to work within their province. Certain provinces and territories have different rules, especially on age limitations for work. And here is a list of some examples of barriers that youth would face to employment. So while not all youth engaged in the program must be from one of these groups, from self-reported data for the youth that we've engaged to date, 89% of them identify as a person who faces a barrier. So thank you to the efforts for the organizations who've participated in this program before. We are reaching the young people across Canada who need supports and programs like these. So keep doing what you're doing, and just please keep in mind these barriers when you're approaching the hiring phase. So the wage subsidy, as mentioned, is 100% up to $10,000 per youth. One question that we have from some of our previous participants in the program is, can I hire the same youth that I hired last summer? The answer to that question is yes, you can. If you would like to hire the same youth again. Again, there's up to $4,000 for mentorship support. So that really helps offset the cost of the mentorship opportunity to the person who is acting as the mentor to the youth that you've hired. Funding, again, available on a case-by-case basis for additional support. So if that is something that you think would be beneficial to the youth that you've hired or to the experience that they're having, please reach out to your regional manager, and we'll do our best to find some support for those additional needs. Work terms can vary in length. Minimum of 4 weeks is what we ask. We really do want to make sure that we're investing in these youth up to 6 months. For this year, please note that the last eligible date for working is November 30th, 2023. So as I mentioned, this program ends this year. We need to have all of our reporting completed by the end of December. So we ask that all the work terms be complete by the end of November. And typically, most of them are completed over the summer term. Full-time, part-time, and casual work is, of course, available. So whatever arrangement works best for you and the youth that you've hired. This is the mentorship guide. So this is an example of the guide that will be given to all of the successful applicants for this program. This helps to support the mentorship relationship and sort of that initial engagement between the youth and their mentor. So we developed this guide in partnership with Mentor Canada a few years ago, and it's had a few different iterations over the years. Here's just a definition of what mentoring is for folks who might not be totally familiar with its interpretation. It can be very broad. It does not have to necessarily be a formal arrangement for something to be considered mentorship, but in this particular case for this program, it does. So we do want to see, we want to know who the mentor is and what skills they'll be working on with each of the youth. So benefits to mentorship, all of this is found in the mentorship guide. Should you be successful in your application, I would ask that you just take a look at this, though. Part of the application process talks about mentorship and the mentorship opportunity that will be available through the job that you're proposing. And so some of the key terms in here you might want to reference in your application for what sorts of supports would be available for both the mentee and the mentor. All right, important dates. So the application deadline for this final year of the Youth Employment Experience Funding is next Friday, February 17th, 2023. We will close the application portal at 11:59 Pacific time. 11:59 p.m. I should say. So folks on the East Coast, that buys you a little bit of extra early morning time on Feb 18th. But hopefully you'll have lots of opportunity to complete the application form between now and then. It's not overly cumbersome. We're going to walk through it together here to get you well prepared and set expectations for what's being asked. CPRA is committed to providing a notice of decision to your organization by March 24th at the latest. So you will know by March 24th whether or not your application was successful. I should note there the first eligible day for employment is April 1 of 2023. So if you get a note from us before March 24th to say, yes, you've been approved, you can hire as early as April 1 for this job. We'll be working through the contract phase during that time. But if you're keen to get going, April 1 is the first eligible day. And as mentioned, the last eligible day is November 30th, 2023. With the program ending formally on December 31st. All right, so now we'll take a look at the application form. So this is a screenshot of CPRA's website. You can see it here under funding at the top bar. You'll see youth employment experience and you'll see the application form right there. So those are the two links you want to go to. Just hover over on your screen and it should take you right to the application form. Once you get there, this is what you'll see. So contact details, name of your organization, and the type of organization that you are. Contact information, of course, please pay particular attention to the email address for the primary contact. We often get spelling mistakes in that field. So it's really hard to tell you that you've been successful if there's a spelling mistake in your email. So please just double, triple, quadruple check that field in particular. Then we ask, of course, how did you hear about this program? This is just for our own purposes to know about our marketing strategies and how they're working. I do encourage you to hit the save button as you're working your way through the application form. You will have the opportunity to save and come back to your application later, but you must hit that button and fill in your email address for the software to send you the link to your application. If you don't hit save, unfortunately, we cannot retrieve the information that you've entered. So part 2 is the funding request. So this is really us asking what kind of funding are you looking for and what does the job opportunity look like? So number of jobs requested. One application per organization is allowed, but you're allowed to request up to 2 jobs. I should say, so long as the jobs are the same. If you're looking to request 2 separate jobs, Please fill in the form. Please fill in 2 applications because the form is limited. It's only going to ask you for 1 job description. We're just assuming you would hire 2 of the same. So if they're different, please submit 2 requests. Hopefully that's clear. We will ask for a job description of about 200 words max. So we really just want to know in brief, what specific tasks will the youth be required to undertake, and what would a typical day or a week look like? Please try to provide some detail here. It's really hard for the reviewers to get a full understanding of the job with like 1 or 2 sentences. So please do take some time and try to give us a bit of an idea of what the youth will be doing. Describe how the job will build skills and expand networks and increase their knowledge in parks and recreation. So we really want to make sure that this opportunity for youth is a good opportunity in the parks and recreation space. And we hope that, coming out of an opportunity like this, that youth will be more connected to the sector and hopefully want to pursue a career here. These 2 components, so the building skills and the job description, make up about 40% of the review score. So just wanted to draw your attention to this. This is where you'll want to put some thought into your responses. I should mention as well that a PDF of the application form is available on the website if you want to download this and think about your responses before putting them in. We ask also for an anticipated start date and end date, just to get an idea of when youth will be working. You're not bound by those. If hiring takes a little bit longer, or if something happens and the youth needs to leave their placement early, that's no problem. And then again, an anticipated schedule for the youth. So will they be full-time, part-time, approximate wages, MERCs, and about the anticipated total salary over the work term, just so we can budget accordingly. Especially being the last year of the program, we want to make sure that we're using all of the funding, or we're allotting all of the funding that we possibly can. And again, please save your application. So that was section 2. Part 3 is youth engagement. So this will talk about how are you actually going to reach youth who are facing barriers to employment in the sector. So please describe the efforts that your organization will take to reach these youth. This is 30% of the total review score. So we're looking for a little bit more than, we're going to post this on our job board. Are you working with youth service organizations in your community? Do you have ties to, for instance, Big Brothers or Big Sisters clubs? Are you looking to partner with the YMCA? Things like this, or examples of success that you've had in the past for how to really reach youth who are facing barriers. Maybe your community center where you're trying to hire is located right within an impoverished or a neighborhood improvement zone, and maybe you're looking to draw a youth right from that neighborhood. Please try to articulate those circumstances in this box. Again, save. And then part 4 is the mentorship. So that list of skills building that we just talked about. Again, this response is about 30% of your mark, or the score for the application review, to describe the mentorship experience that will be available at your organization. So an example of a low score will be the youth will be supervised, and that might be it. An example of something that might be a little bit more complete would be, the youth will have the opportunity to have a mentor at the workplace. They will meet regularly, and we will afford the mentor some time away from their regular duties in order to support the youth throughout their work term. And we hope that they maybe take a particular training or something together. I know that at this stage, you may not have all the details yet about who that mentor would be or exactly what they would do, but some example of either mentorship success in the past or an idea of what that could look like at your organization would be really helpful for reviewers. The next questions, does your organization have previous experience offering mentorship opportunities? And if yes, we'd like to know about those. So what did those look like? if you've participated in this program before, please let us know here. And then how will your organization select a mentor for this youth? Again, you might not have all the answers there, but it would be helpful to know if that will be a mentor that would be assigned. Is it their direct supervisor? Will the youth have an opportunity to be part of that decision-making process for mentorship? Again, we are just asking, and you may not have all of the answers at this particular stage, but we do need to know whether or not your organization has the capacity to support the youth should they require additional supports. If the answer is yes, that's great. We'd love to know about what programs are available. And if the answer is no, that's okay. But we'll just note that there might be some requests for additional support coming through. And again, please save your application. The final section of the application is some declarations. So really, we're just looking to make sure that you're going to comply with your reporting requirements. In particular, oops, I'll draw your attention to the second one here. I don't have an arrow that pops up, but confirming that no other federal funding will support the position proposed in the application. So this particular program provides 100% wage subsidy. So for the 4 weeks to 6 months period that the youth is engaged in this program, they cannot, of course, be getting salary from anywhere else because 100% of their salary is coming from CPRA. So if you would like to keep the youth engaged longer through a different pot of funding, that's fine. But really what we're asking you to attest to here is that during the time that the youth is engaged in this program, receiving 100%, that you're not also receiving other supports for the salary during the same period. Then we sign, and the blue submit button is right there at the bottom for you to submit your application. So you'll see that there at the bottom. It is highlighted in blue. Hopefully that is clear to hit the submit button when you're finished. We talked about this a little bit of the way through, just the breakdown in marking and the areas of particular focus that the reviewers will be weighing. One is the potential for building skills. 2 is the reach to youth who are facing barriers to employment. And 3 is that mentorship opportunity. So what does that look like? Here's a quote. I'll just pause for a moment. From a employer actually who wrote this to us on their final claim form. We've taken out any identifiers, but really just showing that the program has such an impact on both the youth themselves, but also on the community and the employees and the organization itself. CPRA is really proud to be delivering this program, and we're thrilled that we have one more year to be able to engage more youth across the country. So I will introduce you now to the regional managers. These wonderful people have been at the helm of this program for quite some time now. And so they're very familiar with any questions you may have or any ideas you might want to chat about with them. And perhaps we can do some breakout rooms if we don't cover all of the questions in the chat. So I will go there now, but I just wanted to nod to Noelle, to Emma, Robin, Remy, and Heather to thank you for your involvement with the program, for ensuring that it's successful, for taking care of all of the organizations within your region. And if you, the applicants, have any questions along the way, please reach out directly to your regional manager.